What's up, folks? Jim Dexter at Tactically Sound Training Center and STI's Tactical Team 2011. Want to talk to you today about this FoxtrotKilo Modified UBL. So I bought one of these a little while ago, just happened to run across them somehow, I think on Instagram, and I was like, hey, that looks pretty slick and might suit my needs. I think I'm going to pick one up from their next inventory batch, and we'll talk about inventory batches here in a little bit. So I went ahead and grabbed one and got it, and I've been carrying it for a little bit now. I've made a couple tweaks to it, and I've got it kind of right where I want it, where I'm comfortable enough to say that I like running this. So I'll give you a breakdown of what this is. What this is this company has taken a Safariland UBL and cut it down so that they can mate it with a Tech-Lock attachment. It's bolted on with YFS attachments here, and it attaches right to the back of a Tech-Lock, the newest generation, the newest version of the Tech-Lock that has the, I guess, safety tab, if you will, on here to really lock that down into the belt. The version that I got is a minus cant. Yes, folks, I'm running a Safariland UBL version and a Safariland holster that is now a straight drop. This is probably the biggest thing that I've been looking for since Safariland came out with their first holster, and for some reason didn't have the ability to make it a straight drop. I don't know what's going on currently at Safariland. The VUBL was supposed to be a thing. I personally placed an order for one. It went into a holding pattern. I was told that it went into pre-production, and then now I've received like 4 different answers, which is kind of common from Safariland right now. So necessity is the mother of invention, so FoxtrotKilo Company has figured out a way to remove the cant on the Safariland holster. Now, for those of you that like the cant that there is already and just want a little lower profile attachment style, or you like the idea of the Tech-Lock, that you can take it on and off, they make one that does not have any sort of cant removal. It keeps the original cant of the Safariland holster. It just minimizes the profile because you don't have the wings, the stability wings. Now, when we talk about stability with this, when I said I got this dialed in the way that I want to, with my Blue Alpha gear duty belt that I run, and the different positions for the Tech-Lock attachment, I had a little bit of spacing, a little bit of a wiggle. No big deal. That I don't count that against the makers of this attachment. There's no way to account for all the little idiosyncrasies of every single belt. So what I did was I took an additional one of the spacers that is included on the Tech-Lock attachment. I ground it down and just wedged it in and glued it into the original spacer that's on the holster attachment. So now I've got a nice solid lock here. There's no movement, there's no play back and forth. So as far as stability goes, in the UBL versus this isn't going anywhere because the stability is added or is in there from the way that the attachment sits on the belt, so there's no play. Even in the Safariland UBL, sometimes if you don't have the spacers and in the different size belts, it has that shift back and forth, or it can go up and down. This thing isn't going anywhere. It doesn't go left or right. It doesn't cant at any angle. It can't go up and down. It sits there and it's anchored in. I found that originally when I put this on, before I put that little spacer in there and wedged that in, that I did have some back and forth play. It was really kind of a non-factor. It was just a little bit annoying. When I would sit down in my car, it would move just the tiniest little bit, and there was just a little bit of play when I would have my hand on my gun, but it never affected my draw stroke or anything like that. It was pretty solid as far as positioning goes for consistency in my draw. It was just I didn't like that little wiggle back and forth, so like I said, I ground down one of the spacers, slid it in there, and now this thing isn't going anywhere at all. As far as drops go, they make the drop that is essentially the low-ride UBL platform, or the regular mid-ride that puts it a little bit higher up. For me, I don't worry about the Tech-Lock because I use Safariland QLS to switch back and forth between my drop flex adapter on my swap belt and this on my patrol belt. So I'm not necessarily concerned about the Blade Tech attachment coming on and off. But if you don't, if you have a training belt and you only have one holster system because you just take it to the range occasionally, this is nice and convenient because you can pop it on and off and go back and forth between belts. If you're an instructor and you're teaching different styles of things, or you just want to throw it on like an Aries belt versus your battle belt, this is a pretty nice feature to be able to use. Again, just be aware that the spacing on the attachment may have to change, because it can change with the back with that tech lock. So let's throw this on. I got my Safariland holster at my STI Staccato P Duo. I'll show you what this looks like on this belt, and I'll show you what that minus cant does as far as making it a much more neutral and straight drop with this holster. So before somebody asks, which I know you're going to, these are 511 Apex pants. I'm really digging these pants. I wear these for SWAT, and I wear the striped pants on duty, and I find myself in these all the time. They're super comfortable. So you'll see where this comes right here, sits down. Everybody was concerned at first about how low it appears if it sits, but remember, the QLS fork sits about midway in the holster attachment itself. So I put this in, and the butt of my gun is about even with my belt line. It's right about at my belt line, so it's a nice straight drop on here. It's exactly where I want it to be. Again, there's no side-to-side play. If I had my belt keepers on here, that would be even more rock solid on there. There's no play, there's no movement back and forth on here, there's no up and down play on it. Come out here. So one of the things that it looks a little odd, I think, in my personal opinion, the angle of it, but the angle is really intuitive. It's really nice, and I get my purchase on my gun every single time. You know, some people may be concerned about, you know, getting hung up or something on here. Look, you guys have to take your own considerations into mind. I haven't found it to be an issue at all. I don't think that it's a consideration that is too much of a concern for me versus what I get out of this with the straight drop and the ability to have a consistent draw every single time that is super fast and that is in its exact straight drop for my hand and the way that I draw my gun. It's very similar to competition setups, so it's very fast. That's no surprise. Competition guys are going for speed, and so they have their gun set up where they can get to it and draw the gun the fastest. Patrol should be no different. We just add in retention so that if we have contact situations where we're concerned about weapon retention, our holster can be of assistance to us in that factor. For us, though, we need to be able to get that gun out. This straight drop, or the minus cant, as they call it, to give us the straight drop, is a fantastic option in order to run a Safariland holster with the cant that really we all want, that they just refuse to give us. So I mentioned in the beginning the inventory of this stuff. The FoxtrotKilo company does batches of these. My understanding is that they're not a full-time company for gear or anything. I believe they're cops who do batches of this inventory, and they make these up. So every month they release a batch of these modified UBLs in minus cant and in the regular cant. So if you want one, you got to kind of stay on top of things as far as their inventory goes in order to check out and grab one for yourself. So go check them out on Instagram or on their webpage and see if this is something that might be value added to your patrol setup. All right, guys, be safe.